Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is January the 25th, and as we know, January is the 11th month. February is the 12th month, and then March is our first month. It's 2024 on the ancient moon calendar and 2024 on the ancient sun calendar as well. And today we're going to cover a few topics, one being there's a particular word that whenever we heard that word, we were trained in the last era, and yes, it was training, it was animal husbandry. We were trained to go the other way and to run from this word. Anytime you heard this word, we were trained to run from it. The ancestors have shown us that this one word is a major key to the estate. It is actually access to the estate. And the word comes from us, of course, as do all access to the vast estate. With that being stated, all rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. According to the ancient Noahide laws as stated by this Holy Congress, this is a sovereign living ancient Article 3, Moorish American Al-Moroccan Universal Court action. We are the divine sovereign living justices, and Egosum Pauline Denise Ritchie, my free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminution nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are capite et corpus juris legalis, which is our statement that we are the lawful and legal natural head and body for our empire. All Moors are the divine, original, indigenous, sovereign, ancient, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites, Canaanites, Israelites, Hamathites, Cushites, and Hittites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our honor, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the original, indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient, Islamic, Muslim empire state for Morocco. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District for Columbia. We are the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Earthwide Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today, we are exercising the law by our sovereign status, which is the original, indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3, Living United States District for Columbia Court, and we are the sovereign fiduciaries, original creditors, executors, trustees, divine ministers, possessors, and title trustors for all causes for action. All causes for action. All causes for action. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign divine ascension. We do hereby possess in our custody all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. We, the true living God nation, are not at war, and we hereby exercise and demonstrate all eternal, ancient, original, sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc pro tunc. The laws and the principles that we share are not just our opinion, they are actually the law. Islam. Along with our sovereign, powerful demonstrations and study, these laws and processes that we share are principles of stare decisis, res judicata, and ancient, positive, supreme law for the land long established in sovereign order. These erudite principles and processes are for daily practical application, daily things we can use every day to intelligently govern our vast estate. That is what our ancient ancestors have given us to share with the ancient sovereign nations, tribes, clans, states, and governments at earth, and for this we are grateful. Yes, We are the mighty conjurers. Indeed, that is actually a word. Those two words, mighty conjurers, is a derivative of mitochondria. Mitochondria, the mother energy. Indeed, Islam. And let us just state for the record that yes, we do know that a bird must have two wings to fly properly. So yes, our sons are one of the wings, the matriarchs are the other wings. We agree with that. Let us add to that the wisdom that a bird must also have a head, and the head is the mighty conjurer or the mitochondrial energy, the matriarchal energy. And for that, we're grateful. So let us share our screen so that we can all see and state and be and hear and share Islam. Let us make it clear that when we say Islam and Islamic Muslim, that is not a religion. So all who are Christians, feel free to be Christians. We love you. You are our brothers and sisters. Feel free. We see that some of the bloodline and birthright have begun a journey whereby they are presenting talks and speeches about decolonizing Christianity. And all that means is that they know they're the head. Okay? They know they're the head. It's unlocked, Empress. So anyone can be a Christian just like anyone can be any other. But as long as it's headed by the Moors, as long as the head is the Moors, then all is well on the land. So we just wanted to make that clear as well, because things are in the right order when the Moors are the head, Islam. With that being stated, the ancestor showed me something. This is day number 2 of our 3-day universal fast. And we're so excited about that because the ancestor showed us some things during this fast that we hadn't even thought about, really, because we've never known it any other way. But because we have chosen to govern ourselves, we have literally recovered control of all karmatic energy. All karmatic energy. What is karmatic energy? Does anyone know what, and we'll go ahead and we'll lock the meeting and open the table so that we can all govern together, the Moors.
Islam.
What is karmatic energy or karma? What is that?
Islam.
Islam in first.
I would venture to say the sowing, once you've done something, whether it's sowing a seed, energy, or stating something, it's the law of reciprocity. It's a law of sowing and reaping. Yes. It's a law of, you give and receive, and it's all of that.
Yes. It is the law that governs and the energy that governs. Go ahead, Nobility, Justice Tonis, and Justice Eddie, I believe.
Islam,
Justice Tonis.
Number one, thank you. Actually, it's cause and effect in action.
Yes. 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 Did you realize? Did any of us realize? Go ahead, nobility. There's another noble that I believe was going to make a statement regarding karma.
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
Even though I know I'm not the one who was.
Yeah, but we haven't heard from them. Go ahead, Empress.
Right. So I would say, and I agree and affirm everything that's been said. But what's ringing in my head, it is the payment, my payment,
Woo.
my work.
Yes.
In whatever form that may be.
Yes.
No one can do it for me. No one can give it to me. No one. It is my merry-go-round.
Yes.
Islam.
Ooh. We can introduce it, and that we are doing, and we shall continue to do that. We can introduce the information. How that information is received and acted upon and actioned upon is the karma of all of us. The ancestors. Yes, Islam, Empress.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Excited. I just, as you said that with such peace, and I heard pay again, and I heard pay en française, because it is also my peace. Karma is
right, yes. Why isn't it working? Go ahead,
it's my peace, P-E-A-C-E, but it's also my payment for my peace.
Yes.
It's so that I yield now.
Yes, which is deserving or serving.
What?
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
What it comes to thought is like divine will being done. Whether something that's, low vibrating or high vibrating. So the cause and effect, or the law of reciprocity, is what I call it as well.
Yes. We are in complete control of that. Whereas in the last era's enactment, we felt like if we did something that was not according to what others were saying, that we would have to pay according to what they said.
The Genesee County Sheriff
that they had the authority to punish or to reward. The ancestors made it very clear that only we have that authority. We govern karma because it comes from us.
Islam,
Empress.
I just had the thought of law of attraction too, because I've been big on that here lately.
Yes. 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 That's what makes us so powerful. Is we actually have the authority and the will to attract whatever we choose. We actually had it in the last. We actually had it in the last era too. We actually had that in the last era. It's just that, we didn't know we had that in the last era. We're very powerful. We're all powerful. I keep saying very powerful, but really, when I say very, I mean V-A-R-Y, very, as in variable. That means in all areas we're powerful.
But not powerful enough to get it conveyed.
But we're also powerful in that when we do something, we get to determine our reward for what we did. Our ancestors knew.
Tonight's call will be a grand failure.
They've always known. They knew, and they've always known what they're doing through us. Where karma is concerned, because we are the court, and we're the honorable court, and when I say we, I mean all of us, earthwide, of the bloodline and birthright, of course. The honorable court determines, and again, we're all the court, we're the law, we're the government, all of us together. And so, yes, we are talking about karma in the physical, but I'm talking about karma in the spiritual. That to me is more important than the physical, because the physical manifests by way of the spirit. In the spirit realm, let's say we said something or did something that we knew we shouldn't have said or did in the last era. We would be looking around like, okay, am I going to trip over something today, or am I going to have a little accident, or is something going to happen because we shouldn't have said that? And then we were trained to ask, quote unquote, God to forgive us. Forgive us. We would ask God to do that. Really, we were talking to ourselves, because it was only by what we said that we felt forgiven. So it was all within us to begin with. What does that mean? That means that because we're honorable, we are the divine. Yes, our divinity, our nobility, our bloodline and birthright is everything in terms of control of sources and resources. And that's why it was so important for us, and this is something that the ancestors made clear to us over this fast as well, is that we, in all that we do, no matter what we do, we have the authority to say yes or no to the harvest that comes with what we do. We have the authority to say yes or no. And so people used to always ask this question back in the day in our sleep. They would say, why is it that God lets good things happen, bad things happen in the world? Why are people starving? Why this and why that? Well, because control of harvest had everything to do with the gods, all of us. Control of what comes from the harvest, including the things that our ancestors put in place. We were actually reaping that, and we've been reaping the harvest of what our ancestors put in place. And some people were in the last era, and we've heard this. Some people, when they woke up, they were mad at the ancestors, saying, why did we have to go through that? Well, spoiled ones. We went through that because it was time for us to grow up and control our karma responsibly. So karma is an energy. It's a frequency. It's a dimension. It is the response. It is the action to a cause. There is a cause for karma. Because we are, and we stated it right up here, we stated at every opening, when we introduce and open and do our statement and open our court actions, we state that we are the cause for all. We are the sovereign fiduciaries, original creditors, executors, trustees, divine ministers, possessors, and title trustors for all causes for action. All that is an acknowledgement of our godness. That's it. And some might say, I'll just use myself as an example. I could go back and look at 2017 when I first woke up and did a 25-day POW demonstration. I could go back and say, well, why did our ancestors let me stay in there for that long? But I already know why.
Does Aisha have her shit packed for eviction day? Oh,
I already know why. It was to strengthen, to make better. Because our ancestors knew that at some point that would not be an option. It's not an option to go to different places like that. It's not an option for Moors to be evicted when we take control of karma properly, to be put into places they don't want to go. It's not an option in the ethers, in the atmosphere, according to the law. It's not an option for anyone to go against our will. We have to will for things to happen by our cause. We cause it, and then there's an action. That's why they call tornadoes and hurricanes and things like that acts of God, because they don't cause it. They don't control it. We do. We do. We know that. We know that. We've done the demonstrations. We know that. So with that being stated, I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on this particular part, but just give it some thought, Moors. Give it some thought. Think about it. And let it sink in with your study that we have recovered control of all karmatic energy. Keep that in mind, regardless of the programming and regardless of what you see. And when we say what you see, from the program perspective, from the last era.
Islam.
Oops. Islam nobility. Go ahead. Islam nobility. Apologies. I'm trying to unmute you, and I think you're probably trying to unmute yourself at the same time.
Islam.
Go ahead.
I was seeing karma as part of the treaty.
Yes. Yes. It's that also. Because the consul has to decide anything that's going on the land. That's what the treaty says. Right, nobility?
Yes. So that's how I was seeing the treaty, even though our ancestors knew that they couldn't fulfill the treaty, but our ancestors knew that karma would fulfill the treaty, not them.
Islam. Our ancestors actually did fulfill the treaty. They just put some things in front of us so that we could correct what we saw. This is a test. This was a test for all of us. That's good. That's a great observation, though, nobility. Great observation. The treaty is a prime example of karma or karma. Islam. So let's just give that karma piece some thought. I wondered why bad things were happening also if there was a God, and it actually smashed it assisted in smashing the programming that we were enacting. It smashed all of that, because I know that we have the authority to clean up and clear up and present anything and everything, or create it anew. And for those who studied Enlil, Enki, and all of that. Anew, they call him anew, but it's really anew. That anew is the matriarchal energy of creating things anew. Anew is the patriarchal Islam. Just thought I would throw that in there. Islam nobility.
Okay, I had to make a comment here.
Islam.
All right, so my observations and everything that I've read so far was that anew was not the feminine aspect of that, but the masculine. So what are you referring to when you're saying anew? You're not talking about the characters. You're talking about a characteristic. You're not talking about the Anunnaki folks per se.
I am, because we are they also, because they were first. However, what I am stating is that we have the authority and the energy and the frequency to create everything anew. The earth that Anu saw when they came here, Enlil and Enki, and all of the war that followed, because it was a war.
And the point that I'm making is just simply that Anu was the father.
He was the father in that story. Yes.
In their enactment, in their history, their pages, their stories that they left behind for us. Okay? Now, unless you know something otherwise, I'm questioning why you're referring to him as the her when that was separate. That was his wife. I'm just questioning that so that there's not confusion, so I can bring clarity.
Okay. So in the Biblios, it states that in that day there will be a new heaven and a new earth, right? Old things will pass away and all things are become new. That is what we have done by way of the...
I want clarification why Phoenix can't get...
energy, the matriarchal energy. So that story of Anu and Enlil and Enki and all of that was the war version or the patriarchal version. The patriarchal energy is a war energy. Let us just put that on the record. It is. The last era is proof of that. And that's okay because, again, like Justice Noble Howard stated, there has to be balance. The matriarch brings the peace. 2 parts make a whole, but 3 parts make a whole also. And 100 parts make a whole as well. So as many part and parcel as present make the whole as well. We agree with what you're stating. So again, Anu in this story, because it's a story, in that story was the patriarchal version of all things being created new now, like what we're doing now. We've created everything anew. New banking, we're new in terms of our identity, which is ancient. Anew and ancient, same thing. There's really nothing new under the sun, so we use the term anew. And the Biblios uses that term also, and the Hebrew Bible uses that term as well. All things are created anew. And what we're doing now is the matriarchal version of the story of Anu, them coming down to earth and populating the earth and doing all of those things, except we are the matriarchal and the peaceful version of that same story. And so whenever that happens, the spelling changes. The spell changes. And that's the point of what we're saying. Yes, just as how it says, behold, Amun, make all things new. In the Bible, the Biblios, that is scriptural. That is according to also the ancient law. That when we wake up, we were going to create everything anew. It's also supported in the Holy Quran, chapter 2. The Circle 7 Holy Quran for the Moorish Holy Temple for Science, chapter 2. We talked about that as well, Islam. With that being stated, restating everything is creating everything anew. So with that being stated, speaking of creating everything anew, just one moment, let me get that out of here. No, you cannot be me. I am me.
You are a sovereign citizen that is full of shit. Full of shit.
Can't be me. So with that being stated, let me show you another something that has happened. At Earth. And as we present the next topic, just keep in mind that everyone knew who we were the whole time. There have been those who've been calling themselves Indians. Moors are not Indians. Indians come from our estate. The true Indians are at India or from India, and the ones that are here, they are from the Indians at India or Hindustan or Sindh. Okay? The true Indians have opened a temple with great ceremony, and we will to show you what the temple is about in brief. We'll just show it briefly. This is something that we saw on social media. It says the most awaited day in Indian history. Now, this is not something we said. This is something that, if you'll look here, it's written in their language that we gave them. This is the temple for Ram. And we just want to show you a few photos from the ceremony that we thoroughly enjoyed in the enactment. This is a photo of the subjects in the office of dignitary at said temple, as well as the subject in the office of President Modi at India. And he is worshiping at this temple. The inauguration of Ram Temple in India's Ayodhya. I wanted to make sure I stated that properly. This is them worshiping and presenting gifts and things of that nature. This is the subject in the office of President Modi worshiping. And the look on his face, I just thought I would share this photo because this is when he was saying his prayers and something came over him and those that were in the room, where it almost looked like they were afraid when looking up at her, because for the majority of the ceremony, they did not look up, they just prayed. But then when he decided to look up, or they decided to look up, something came over the room, and they all decided to look up at once, I guess, I don't know. And this was the look on their faces, which we thought was notable. And again, we're not showing this from an ego perspective or from gloating or anything of that nature. What we're doing is stating that everyone has always known who we are, and that as we have stated the law at Earth, it is manifesting everywhere, not just at one part of our estate, everywhere. And this is them worshiping at the feet of the matriarch. They know the truth about the matriarch. They've always known. And again, this does not take away from our sons. It does not. Because in the last era, our sons had a field day. It was enjoyable for them, and you know, we participated in the enacted worship of our sons. I have a consort and a past to prove it. We worshiped in the enactment, and we still do honor our sons. We honor them even more so now, even more so with more fervor now, indeed. But we must point out the truth of the matter. We're not going to shrink back from that truth. This is them praying. And there was great fanfare. There was media everywhere. There was people everywhere. There was all, just to celebrate the opening of this beautiful temple, and it's all Moorish architecture. All Moorish architecture. Yes, entranced into a new era, energy, frequency, and time. Yes, Empress Shasha, that's exactly what happened.
You can see
it. Yes, and this is happening earth-wide now. They're not the only ones that are opening up the temples and saying the matriarch has returned and all of that.
It's a celebration. People, their weight has lifted.
Yes.
You see it.
Yes. The nose, the big full lips, the hair, all of that. Everyone is aware. And then I found this interesting. They had some symbolism on the temple. This is the front of the temple, what it looks like. But notice what we would have called a swastika.
Yeah.
It's in red. And this photo doesn't do it as much justice as the video does. It's in red. They flashed it just for a second, because we notice everything, and they'll flash it for a second and then go on. So we snap it when we see it. Go ahead, Empress Angel, and then Empress Shasha.
It's in proper persona. That's why.
Yeah.
And this is right around the same time of the fall of the cabal. The cabal and the enactment of the Jews and whatever, the Ashkenazis, that one, and that whole enactment, right? Yeah. So the proper statement and the proper energy, the proper karma, as we stated earlier, can be presented, and it can take on its proper persona now without any
prosperity comes with proper.
Yeah, that too. And so there's no more false statements made about that anymore.
Yeah. Everyone knows who we are. We're now witnessing and stating that it be known and stated everywhere. So we just wanted to bring this to your attention as well. And as they entered the temple, nobody had shoes on. It was holy ground. They all took, including the subjects in the office of president. He took his shoes off outside in before he even stepped on the ground. So by the time we saw him, he was in socks, going up the stairs and presenting his gift. And then he prayed. They just prayed. You could see their mouths moving. They were praying, and all of that. Which, again, this is not about ego. This is about proper order, so that the chaos and all of that is put in its proper order, because it's not really chaos. Not really chaos. Islam, Empress.
I just wanted to share an experience I had a couple of days ago. My consort and I were out doing our commerce, and in that area, there's a large, like the world's largest, Sikh community. So we're coming to a stoplight, and all of a sudden I feel this weight of a stare in the car next to me, and it was behind me at first, but then I could see the car speeding up, and this person's trying to get a look at me. I'm sporting my beautiful royal blue, turban.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we met eye to eye, his eyes were big as a saucer, and his mouth was wide open. It's like, oh my God, the Moors are awake. But it was a great experience. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. Islam.
Yes, Empress, thank you for that. That's happening everywhere, and that's why we stated what we stated about the turbans and fezzes. A while back, we were stating that, Moors, we would encourage you to wear your turbans and fezzes so that everyone knows. And our sons wear turbans as well. The Sikh community, even the name Sikh, it's an indicator. And I will say this too: the Sikh and the Indian communities who were wearing turbans wore them beautifully. They wore them beautifully. We see some of them in some of the financial videos and things that we watch, and they have the turban looking so clean and crisp and clear and just perfect. They got it perfect. So we're learning from them. We're remembering rather on how to present our turbans, because it is the order for the day. Nationality is the order for the day. Islam.
Seek and ye shall find.
That's really what that community is about.
Yeah. Seek and ye shall find. Yes.
And that's what happened with Empress Cynthia. They were seeking and they found, and it just it did what it, the energy did what it was supposed to do. Islam, Empress.
I'll say this. I met with a quote-unquote real estate agent, and he was the friend of the prime minister for Morocco. And he asked me where was I from, because I had my turban and everything on. So I used it as an opportunity to introduce who we were in our history. And I told him I'm from Al-Maghrib. And he looked at me, he goes, what do you mean? So I explained the
What
history.
do you mean? He didn't ask you where it was. He said, what do you mean?
Yeah. And then I explained the history to him, and he actually called the prime minister on the phone. He says, we've been looking for who you are.
Yes. Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
So I broke down the history of the paper genocide and everything.
Yeah.
So they definitely get it, and they know who we are.
Yes. But see, they had to hear it from you, Empress. They have to hear it from us. They can't hear it from anyone but us. In order to
He
even
actually enlightened me with, I could see him thinking, he says, the far west, that's what Al-Maghrib means.
Yes.
Or the ancient far west.
And the ancient far west is actually east. But they know that. But
exactly.
It's all good. Here's the thing that we have to keep in mind. Ooh, I'm so glad you said that, Empress. The ancestors have made it very clear to us that when we're telling others who already know who we are about us, they're going to start gifting us with information. That's really what they're bringing is information. That's our information that they've been holding. They've been looking for us to appear information as well as everything else. Everything else, wealth, everything. When we present with a particular energy, yes, indeed. Yeah, Empress, thank you for that. That's what we expect. That is the expectation. in terms of, and I'm not saying that from an ego perspective. We're looking for, not looking for, because we already have it, but the information that's our information that accesses the estate even further, even more. Because see, now they know who you are and how to connect with you, which means they know how to connect with all of us because we are all one. Those types of interactions are happening all over. We're hearing about them all over. And they're not playing dumb anymore. They're just waiting to hear the sound, because it's a sound. Our words are a sound. Our information, our knowledge is a sound. And when we give that sound, everyone knows that the return has happened already and is continuing to happen. The return of the Christ. And that's all of us, all of us. Our ancestors know what they're doing. We must trust them. We must trust them in us, because they're not out there. They're not across the water. They're in all of us. We are our ancestors' return. These hands are the ancestral hands, and so are yours. This mind is the ancestral mind. All of our minds are we are our ancestors' return. It's in our blood. The information that our ancestors had is in our blood. It's coursing through our veins. We must trust. We must trust. And we do trust. We've already stated that. That's really what the trust, the universal trust, is all about. The trust that we put on the public record is actually a presentment of that ancient trust. Indeed. The whole earth knows. So let's move to our next topic. At the beginning of this Congress, I spoke about a word, one word, that we were told to run from. Run, whenever you heard the word. That word is charge, or in French, it is charger. In Latin, it's charge or charger. So I looked in Black's Law Dictionary online, because the one online is not the same as the one that you would get the hard copy of Black's Law. Black's Law Dictionary, the hard copy, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st edition is where you should look for that. For proper word, the etymology is there in terms of the Latin, where it came from, where it derived from. But we want to take a look at this word because the truth of access to the estate was hidden in that word, among others, but in that word. Again, the first inclination when we heard that in the last era was run, or it's going to cost you something, or you're about to get poorer or put in jail, or in some fake court from the last era enactment. That's what we thought when we heard that word. Islam, Empress.
And I'm interrupting. I know you're going somewhere, but
no, go ahead, Empress, please.
Charge, as you talk about it, it's electrical. That is when you put power into a battery. The mitochondria, the mighty conjurer. That's when you feed the force into something, and
it's currency.
It's currency. Current. Yes.
Current.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's the power. It's the force.
Yes. That's why it was a spell. That's why we were so afraid of it in the last era. Because either afraid or we were just thinking it was unpleasant to be charged.
To be charged with, because exactly when, in fact, I'm sitting here and all I'm seeing is, power, electricity coming in to me. And
yes.
So I know that funny mirror smashed, bashed, crashed, and gone.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
And when you think about in that other era in war, when battles were on the ground,
yes,
you know,
that's what they would yell, charge. Yes.
And that's what we were being fed in the other era. It's something
yes.
to run from, something, yes.
Yes, but that word.
Yes.
Go ahead, Empress. I yield. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, I yield. I'm charged.
Yes, me too. I am. I am. Oh wow. As the ancestors were actually peeling the scales off my eyes with this word and showing us what we really have the authority to do and be and how things are accessed, I just thought, oh my. So I said, let's just look at this word. We'll look at it. We'll because in other words, we have nothing to fear.
Right.
So I did put a little disclaimer. As we begin this discussion, please keep in mind, and this is just for everyone, especially particularly the newborns, that everything was backwards in the previous era enactment. If this word is seen through a traumatized, unhealed, or otherwise injured filter or defective filter, it will be rejected outright. However, because we are well, healed, healthy, and wealthy, we can see the truth that was hidden in plain sight about this word. Feel free to go to Black's Law Dictionary and look the word up. And Black's Law Dictionary did some dancing around the word because we were not supposed to know that this word meant what it really means. It was that information was hidden in plain sight. In Black's Law Dictionary, you barely see the truth of the word. You see it through the eyes of the writer. You see it through the eyes of whoever wrote that. They were projecting what a charge really is. Yes, it's a military term, but we're not at war, so it doesn't mean the same thing. But in light of that, if we think about the last era, the word charge was being done where everywhere we turn around, there was someone enacting an action where they were saying, we're charging you, we're charging you. Even at the churches, everywhere, you're being charged, you're being charged. That's a military action. Why? Because it was their paper. Their paper stated, in God they trust. The paper was the God for them.
Islam. I just had another thought. You know how on a battery you have a plus and minus?
Yes.
They charged us, it was a minus charge. Yes. And so to backwards that, we need to have positive charge.
Yes. It's called reversion of a state, reverse engineering, putting it back in place. Yes, Empress. I got goosebumps just hearing you say that.
Me too.
Islam, can you open for Brother Darius, please?
That's a charge too.
Gratitude.
When we're saying things among each other and we get those goosebumps, that's a charge that we're sharing. It's an electrical charge. Islam, it's open, Empress. So let's just take a look at it from the dictionary that we have here. So this is some of the information that we gathered. A charge is a credit to those being charged. And we wanted to use this as an example. For example, if you enacted being charged with a crime, you would be accepting credit for the crime. Property is charged to our account, but the debt is a charge to the debtor because we're the creditor. Property is charged to our account, but the debt is that they were trying to attach to the property is separate from it and charged to the debtor. And then we say, okay, debtor, you're a debtor to us, the property is ours and it's in our possession and custody, we'll cancel your debt because you can't, because you're a debtor. Debtors cannot do anything. They can't contract. They can't make statements about who they are and all of that stuff. They're debtors. So to charge property to our account is to list it on the credit side of our account. It's called equity in the property. It's called interest in the property. That is the charge. So now let's look at the how this truth about what we know about a charge, how it's hidden. It was hidden, but it had to be stated or said rather. Our question: do you accept the charge for the debt or the charge to govern and possess the property? What did people say? And this is just to get us to think, to introduce as we look. We're going to look at the definitions here. What did the subjects in the office of president and subjects in the office of vice president, what is it that they said when they took their oath to do? What were they enacting, doing when they accepted the enactment of that office?
Islam. They was accepting the charge of the office.
And then they discharged the duties.
That's that part.
Yeah, Islam,
Islam, Nobili. Go ahead, Nobili.
They also, the Constitution, they accepted that as a contract under all the articles. Of course, they breached the contract gradually over time. And that's how I'm looking at it as well. Also, to a charge, electricity is fire. It's nitrogen.
Yeah.
So they breathe. I'm not going to get deep on that.
No, go ahead. No, but it's making sense.
Yeah. So it is also known that when you touch someone's skin, there's an electrical shock to one another. It's not a repelling. If you hold it long enough, the electricity transfers itself to the other self.
Yeah.
We used to do it as children. See how long this takes. You would comb my hair, you know what I mean? See it in the comb.
Yes.
And then touch the comb, and you could see the electricity actually coming from the comb. That was the Afro days back in the day. So
yes.
Never got that. Islam.
That happened to me just this past week. And I wasn't even rubbing we would put on socks. I know that there's a meaning. Islam Empress.
When you were talking about currency, I thought about some of the Moors that I know that have the ability to put it like this, they wear watches and pull all of the currency out of the watches, and the watches always go dead. But they shock people. They're able, like transmitting utility. So that's what actually came to mind, or transmitting utilization, that positive being transferred, that positive charge being transferred.
Yes. That's right in alignment with the liens that we filed, that we've placed on the record from our court. Is the transmitting utility. We're not a debtor transmitting utility. We're a credit transmitting utility. A living creditor transmitting utility. That's interesting. And truth, actually. When we were designing and creating the lien process, the ancestors said, put this in there, put this in there, put this in there, put that in there. And we did as what came from within us. And now that we look back on that, the transmitting utility, the ancestors said, change that from debtor to creditor transmitting utility. The creditor is the currency or the current or the conveyance method by which everything comes to us based on our status. Charge. We know what it meant in the last era, and most of these definitions are about that. However, a charge, it says to load a wagon from karas, a car or a wagon. That's a conveyance method. So in the verb transitive and the past participle, in Latin, it's
Why did
a conveyance
Aisha fail,
method.
Why did Aisha fail?
It's a conveyance method by which things are carried. It says, yes, Islam Empress.
I just have to say again,
yes.
When you were stating about the transmitting utility, I literally saw vehicles,
yes,
wheels being filled,
yes,
with the load, with the charge, and moving moving the resources back and forth and
yes.
That is.
The modern ones, you will sometimes hear them say, the camels are coming.
Oh my gosh, that's us.
That's us.
That term let me not digress, but absolutely, yes.
The caravan of camels is coming, bringing the wealth.
That's it.
They say that often, actually.
May I say something?
Islam Empress.
Yes, I've seen in a dream that I've seen soldiers come into each house. So I've seen that in a dream.
Yes, but they're bringing good. They're bringing good, bringing wealth.
Mm-hmm.
A soldier, in your dream, you may have seen them in uniform. Uniform just means status. It means authority.
Yes.
It's a great thing. And Empress, I'm going to just take a little sidebar here, if I may. Empress, will you allow me to make a suggestion? The Empress that just spoke?
Yes.
So whenever because you are the matriarch, we're all the matriarch. If you choose to speak, you don't have to ask permission. You can just say Islam or something like that, or just unmute yourself and say Islam and then speak. Because we don't have the authority to give you permission. We actually are all the gods. So we speak. This is Congress and you're a part of Congress, and so we wanted to just share that with you to honor your divinity.
Also, I seen what they call a time zone where you step in, but it was going around in circles.
Ooh.
So,
Empress, what's your affirmation?
I'm
the first affirmation. Your first affirmation. I'm Empress Light.
Phone ringing. I can't. It's just going in and out. I didn't hear you.
What is your first appellation?
I'm a.
Is it Empress Kimke?
Yeah.
Okay, I see something.
Kimke is my spiritual name.
What is it we want to be sure we honor?
Kimke Makita.
Islam Empress. Empress Kimke, thank you for sharing what you see because your dreams are given straight from within you, from the God within you. Mm-hmm. Your dreams are telling you what we're talking about here as well. It's completely in alignment with what we're stating. Completely in alignment. I thank you for that because it's further affirmation for us that we're all hearing from our ancient ancestral energy together. Appreciate that. It is affirmation for us. That because see, we did a demonstration this week, and that demonstration, which we'll talk about at another time, you're giving us affirmation along with what we've received from the ancestral energies thus far that we did the right thing, that everything that we did is what it should be. Just based on what you're stating about what you saw in your dreams, about entering a time zone and things going in a circle.
Yes, and it pushed out a wind.
Yes.
So it was like a whoosh.
That's holy breath. That's holy breath.
Wow. I was wondering what. Oh, that
And
was
the circle is that for us in our spirit, what we're hearing is that the circle is complete in terms of the things that we were all sent to do. Now we can go forth and do whatever we're all sent and called to do. We can go forth and do that. We stood, we studied, we demonstrated, and all of that. And that circle is a completion. That is the completion of that portion of our study and our demonstration, which is that's great news for us, for us in particular. And when I say us, I mean me, me and my ancient ancestors. That's great news for us. We can breathe a sigh of relief from hearing that. Those who are having dreams and visions and things, and those who are the astrologers and the cosmologers, scientists, we will to hear from you in brief on what you're seeing in the cosmos and hearing. Where cosmology and astrology, and I won't digress too far, but this is in line with the current that's going on. What we saw even with this full moon that has manifested this time, because today is full moon day. That's the time that we do our full moon fast. And you fast from whatever you choose to, whatever you're led to fast from. We saw where there was an attempt to cloud up the sky so we couldn't see the full moon. And do you know the moon shone through the clouds? I've not seen that before to that magnitude or to that level. The moon has been shining through the clouds. The clouds could not block the moon here at this territory, because sometimes we would get a little, at first when we first started noticing the cosmos, we would get a little, uncomfortable with the moon being blocked at specific times, because we know what that is. But this time around, the clouds couldn't even block the moon. It was so beautiful. And after a while, they just moved out of the way and let the moon and Venus and the rest of the stars just shine. And for that, we're grateful. That's in alignment with current and charge. Our energy dictates and states everything around us. So number 2, to put a load in or on or in, that's gold being put in to a conveyance method and being sent. That's charge. Let's get down to the end where it says to replenish. To replenish. The air was charged with steam. That means it was filled up with steam. Steam was injected into the air. To add carbon dioxide to water gives it a charge. Gives the water a charge. And just as Howard stated, that we're made of carbon.
Islam, right?
Islam.
I just want to touch on something.
Yes.
We charge each other because we're cells. We have cells.
Yes.
So when we communicate on a higher level, we recharge each other.
Yes.
And charge each other.
Yes.
Islam.
Indeed. Thank you for that wisdom, nobility. Yes. That was where we get goosebumps when we hear each other talk. Speak. Woo. Powerful. It says to add an electrical charge to a battery. Well, battery, battle, all of that. So charge is to replenish. Now, so when you accept a charge, you're accepting the replenishment. But there's a way to do it. Listen, we're going to show that. We're going to show it. So nobody let the programming freak you out. Okay? Don't panic, because guess what? No one's going to demonstrate anything until they know for sure how to do so. We've demonstrated it, and it worked like a charm. To load or burden with that which oppresses. See, that's the old obsolete meaning. If I'm holding so much gold that I can't hardly carry the gold, gold then becomes oppressive because I'm trying to carry too much of it at once. So I have to sit some of it over here or pass some of it over there so that I'm not oppressed by it. Then it becomes a blessing instead of an oppression. We have so much wealth. And fortunately, the systems that we've put in place make it so that that wealth does not oppress us. Because then the wealth can be meted out in portions that we can appreciate. That's what the system is all about. That's why a system had to be put in place or activated or reactivated, really, because it's an ancient system that we've reactivated. So that as we replenish, everything is not dropped on us all at once. Because if someone gave you 50,000 pounds of gold right now, it would be too much for you to carry in your hands. Let me say that. Let me add that. It wouldn't be too much for you to use and spend and hold and save and not spend, because that's not the right word, but to use and to utilize. It wouldn't be too much for you to utilize, you, your heirs, your grand heirs, your great grand heirs, for generations to come. So, charge, to set or lay on, as he charged the officer with the execution of the plan. That means he gave him the responsibility. To entrust to, that is what charge means to us. Because again, it was backwards. In the last era, it was backwards. But even in the last era, we know that truth had to be told in some way, even though they colored it and covered it up and attempted to do all of these things in their enactment. But think about this. Whenever you accepted the charge for a collect call, it was called a collect call. And if you said, yes, I accept the charge to collect, you were really saying to collect, but the third party interloper collected. They left you with the bill and you had to pay. Now it's the exact opposite of that. We are charged with governing the earth and all resources. It is not a burden, it's not an imposition, it's not a tax. It is an opportunity. It's the wealth of for nations, the wealth for the nations. We are entrusted with our own wealth. That is what these documents and this paper and all of these things are about. Now look at number 7. This is where all of this is where a lot of the foolery and the spell casting and all of that came in. To set to, as a debt. Now see, they say as a debt because they know that if you can charge a debt, you can charge a credit too. Right? To place on the debit side of an account. If you can place it on the debit side of an account and call it a charge, you can place it on the credit side of an account and call it a charge as well. As to charge a man with the price of goods sold to him. You can charge him with the price or you can charge him with the goods. See, there's some interloping going on there in the language. To charge someone for something, you can charge them for it or you can charge them with it. That's the point. So let's keep going. To put blame on. What is the opposite of blame? If someone could just if someone could just state what you think is the opposite of blame.
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
Acceptance.
Yes. Credit. Yes. If I can blame you for something, I can credit you for something also. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Empress.
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
As you state that, what's really been happening has been a one-sided affair.
Yes.
Because as above, so below, left, there must be right. So all along it's been a one-legged hopping.
Yes, that's why it didn't work for us. Yes.
That's that's what I'm seeing, as you state this. Because in order, if you do the one, the first is done, the second must be done.
Yes, in order to balance, like Noble Howard said.
Got to be balanced.
Yes.
Islam, I yield.
Indeed.
Islam, probably also too. In electricity, there's resistors, those who oppose. In our community, we had a lot of people who resisted arrest or the charge. I'm just using electrical language for a small second. I yield the floor.
Justice Howard, as you impart that wisdom as well, it made me think about this. When you said that there are resistors can serve as an interrupter, or it can serve as a measurement to measure so that there's no overloading of the electrical current.
Yes. It's a safety valve, if you will, as well.
Yes, and either it can stop the electrical current from flowing in the negative. In other words, if someone needs heat and they plug their heat up and it doesn't work because the resistor is there, then the resistor is not doing what it's supposed to do. It's doing something outside of its jurisdiction. It's denying the electricity.
There's an overload. And the overloads, the weight, the capacity comes into a whole box, like we have AC and DC.
Yes.
If too much of the direct current comes in, and it's not controlled by the resistor, so it can download a small amount of electricity into the home.
Yeah.
It literally can create a fire because it's nitrogen. So it's Islam.
It's direct current, and then there's alternating current. We talked about the altar. We have altered the identities. We placed them on the altar and changed them to what they should be. Islam, Justice Akil.
We also got to be grounded.
Yes, Empress J stated that accountability, grounding helps keep you safe. Yes. And see, for us, grounding is a resistor to our benefit, because again, our estate is so vast. It's so vast. Let's do an exercise really quickly. Think of the one thing, just I know there probably are several. Think of one thing, just one thing that you will to have above most other things. Think of one thing that you will to have. Just one. Just take a moment and just think of one thing that you will to have. You don't have to say it. Let's just think about it. The one thing. Okay. Now that you have thought about that one thing, think about having as many of those as you could ever imagine. Think about having 1 million of those, of whatever it is that you just thought about. What would you do with them? That is why a system is in place, because there are many who cannot picture that. So we must give from what we have to them so that they can be uplifted to think the way that we think. And when I say think the way that we think, we have the God mind. The God mind is not I can't say it's not. The God mind is the all. So it's not like you're trying to get someone to think the way you think in the previous era's enactment. Not that. It's the Godness. So to charge is to give or communicate. So then,
you still lack self-service and a conveyance. Where's your self-service?
So if to charge is to communicate, then what happened when we went to the fake courts? Who was doing the communicating and who was muted? Who was told, be quiet, your lawyer will speak for you in the enactment?
The true creditors, Islam.
In the enactment.
Yes, that
yes.
part.
They're also the third-party interlopers.
Well, yes. Yes. Because all that they were enacting, all that they were enacting, those were our offices. To charge, to give directions to instruct authoritatively as the judge charged the grand jury to inquire respecting breaches of the peace. Charge, to make or ask as a price. Charge. Again, to give. Now let's look again at charge from the verb intensive. To attack vigorously. See, that's not what charge is it does in peacetime. It doesn't do that. Charge, to ask for payment. And a verb intensive is not even really, it depends on how you pronounce it. In other words, it's about war, discharge as a verb intensive. We don't use it as a verb intensive. To crouch or squat as a trained dog when a command is given. Now, charge as a noun, a load or a burden. To load up someone with blessing. To load someone up with blessing is to charge them with blessing. To charge them with blessing. That means you've charged them to be blessed. You've loaded them up. Islam, Empress.
Did you know that a charge is a child? A baby, like for instance with a nanny or the child charge.
I found that out when I was doing, and I was like, really?
But if you think about it, if you take away the nanny, for instance, my sons were my charge. They charged me. Yes. They, brought vigor and life and
yes.
wealth, and so it makes sense.
And you were charged to care for them.
And that's right.
That's an office.
And that's an office.
It's an authority.
And there you have the with and the to. You have the balance.
Yes. Yeah. The maximum or necessary quantity. Now, it can be maximum or it can be what's necessary. I happen to appreciate seafood, lobster. I don't need 30 lobsters a day. And the maximum would be an infinite number of lobsters a day. One every once in a while is the necessary quantity. So why are we being given this information? We're being given this information because The maximum is here. We must govern it properly. The maximum is here. It's already here. It's already here. Everything is already here. Let's keep going. Charge as of electricity, explosive, fuel, etc., that a container or apparatus is built to accommodate. They're now talking about vessels. Our prophet talked about zeppelins and apparatus being able to lift us up above the trouble that was coming. Go back and study Prophet Noble Drew Ali's hadiths, his sayings and hadiths. And you can just Google Prophet Noble Drew Ali's Hadith, hadith. And you'll get there are hundreds of them, of things he stated while he was here that are absolutely prophecies for what's happening at this particular time. Charge, an order, an injunction, an instruction, a command, as the officer gave charge concerning the prisoner. So charge can go either way, and that's where the confusion came in at. Is it can you can give a charge or you can accept a charge. You can accept the responsibility and duty to govern, or someone else will charge you for not doing that. That's what we experienced in last era's enactment. Indeed. Just one moment. To take charge of finances. Think about that. Think about that. Because, see, one thing that we know, and I've even heard Reverend Ikeren Koda say this as well, about taking care of yourself. But he used the word, what word did he didn't say self-governing. He said self-responsibility. That's what he said. He talked about self-responsibility. See, he knew who he was. But the nationality part was the part that everyone's stating who they are, and that was the first part that it was not time for him to bring forth. And then also the us being the lords of our own finance and our own money. That is another part that it was not time for him to bring forth at the time. So he brought forth what the ancestral energies within him told him to bring forth, and he really loved the people, by the way, in listening to some of his videos. Reverend Ike he had the right motive and intention, but it wasn't time. Prophet Noble Drew Ali had the right motive and intention. It wasn't time. Now is the time. Now is the time. And they were timely for what they said and did at those times. Their timing was perfect for what they were bringing forth. Our Prophet Noble Drew Ali stated that if he told the half, many would go back to sleep. The other half belongs to the matriarch. The other half belongs to the matriarch.
Aisha got evicted from the podcast too. She's out.
The matriarch.
She's been evicted, just like she's gonna.
So, based on what they were stating at the time, and even our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, their timing was perfect for what they were saying. But the matriarch, this is the matriarchal energy and the balance being brought to everything. And so this is not a fight. It's not a war. The matriarchs lead the processes. because it's time. It's mother's time to birth heirs and not slaves and not servants. We do that. All matriarchs do that. We birth heirs. We birth the wealth. Care, charge. We're talking about who's in charge. Who's in charge? All of us are. Remember, we've always stated that if someone walks into a room full of Moors and this is male and female Moors, and they say who's in charge, we're all to stand. We are all to stand and say we are. So here, let's go back to this particular part. Responsibility. So when we accept care, we accept the office that is safekeeping. When we accept custody, we're accepting the charge. But we have a mechanism. It's not a but, it's an and we have a mechanism by which charges for the offices is accepted by way of a mechanism that we have in place, including Moorish Sovereign Delarium gold receipts. In the last era, accepting charges couldn't be anything but debt in the last era's enactment. But now that real money is on the earth, we can accept charges. We're not accepting charges that are debt. We're accepting the charge of custody of the property. So the charge is the property, is custody of the property, not the debt. So keep that in mind when you think about what we've done when we created the United States for America and the United States as a creditor special purpose vehicle. That's a financial term. So for those who are thinking finance, look up the term special purpose vehicle. We've created a special purpose vehicle that can accept the charges, not the debt, but the property. And then the property, that special purpose vehicle then hands the property to the officers for the United States, which is all of us. Those offices are placed on the public record by way of our statements and our government affidavits, along with the competence to demonstrate these processes that we've placed on the public record. That's not difficult. It doesn't cost any fiat. All it takes is your time. Your time, and we have time. You have time. So when we say charge, it is the care, the safekeeping, and custody of all property, all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. Look here at number 6. The last thing that it says here is a trust. Let me just make that word bigger because it's important that we see that. There it is right there. A trust. When you accept a charge, you're accepting the trust. Now, what are we talking about? What are we preparing for? We are preparing not take, because we already have custody and possession and all of that. Everything is already ours. We're preparing to demonstrate the custody. It's not a war, so it's not about fighting. It's not about, force or anything of that nature. We won't have to force. It's waiting for us. It's waiting for us. So here, let me pull this in a little bit. This word is why our courts were so important as well. Because look, in law, instructions given by a judge to a jury. a charge. Did you realize that the judge was charging the jury at the time that all of that was going on? Charge is when you charge someone, you're giving them an office. And that office can be prisoner or criminal or whatever. But in our case, we're not at war. So that's not what we're speaking of. That's not what we're stating. That's not what we're stating. What we're stating today is charge being what we accept in terms of the offices and the property on our vast estate. Look at number 9. Now, I'll say this, and I've stated this before. Anytime that you are looking at definitions and there's 1, 2, 5, 10, 12 definitions, always pay close attention to number 3, number 6, and number 9, because those number 3, number 6, and number 9 is going to have some things for you. The word attack in number 3 is the same word as attach. It's attack in wartime, it's attach in peacetime. So our wealth and our charge is attaching with maximum weight and speed to us, and we are not overwhelmed by that. It is the onset of acceptance of the vast estate. Number 5, or number 6 rather, a trust. So a trust had to be formed, not formed, stated. We had to come together and say we trust one another with the vast estate. And now we demonstrate that we trust one another with the vast estate.
Islam.
Islam, Empress.
So we're what we call a launch or fixing.
Yes. Yes.
All of the properties to our vast estate.
Yes. Everything. Yes.
Islam.
Number 9 says, first, of course, they're going to color it and say a debt. Of course, they're going to color it before they say an entry of money. Who's entering it and whose money is it? Yes? Yes. We could stop right here with this word. It's an entry of money. Entering into money. Entering into the charge to accept and have custody of the money. But we have, there's something in a little further down that's been stated in the documents that we look at in treaty law regarding charges that we're excited to show you. Let's keep going so we can get there. Charge number 11. In military usage, a signal to attack. In peacetime, a signal to attach as to sound the charge. Remember, we talked about sound and the hearing. Our courts have ears. Will we hear a cause or will we choose not to hear that cause? Okay? That's what courts are all about. Will we hear the charge, the cause, or not? Will we allow someone to be charged or not? Well, we definitely allow ourselves to be charged with governing the estate and the wealth thereof. Charge is a position. It's a position. It's an office. A charge is an office. In veterinary medicine, an ointment or plaster used as a treatment. A charge is a remedy. A remedy. A charge is, first they colored it with anxiety and trouble. A charge is care. Care. In physics and electricity, the accumulation of a positively, and I'll state the whole thing, but this is what we were stating earlier. Positively or negatively charged electrons on the surface of a substance when it is electrified. This is talking about Earth. This is talking about us, our skin, our bodies, positively charged. Our words are a surface. Our energy and our spirit is a surface. How is that surface charged? The 666 and 667, protons, neutrons, and electrons. That's what six protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. That's our science. So now we're still talking about a charge and accepting the charge. This is the term that we talk about and we hear about when they're talking about international law and things of that nature. Chargé d'affaires. Chargé d'affaires. That's the term. There's the pronunciation of it right there. It's a French term. It says entrusted with business. There's trust and there's commerce there. Chargé d'affaires. We have been entrusted with business because we trust each other. And we have our own money. That's really trusting each other. And then, of course, the truth had to be there, and then there's colorability here. A government official who temporarily takes the place of a minister, ambassador, or other diplomat. It's a government official anyway. Business is government. See, a lot of times people wanted to separate the corporations from the government, and we thought that they were separate, but they were not. For us, it's business. It's commerce. An official of lower rank than an ambassador or minister sent as a diplomatic representative to a smaller or less important country than his own. We are the ministers for all, for everything. We state that with our court action language and when we open these congresses. Congress is opened with our sovereign authority. Period. And in fact, everything we do is opened with our sovereign authority. Entrusted with business. This is the term that we spoke about earlier, where when you start looking at things like when you start doing the study on, and most of us have already done that, but this is for the new Moors, when they start doing the study on, for example, the treaty laws, that's number one. Number two is things like the Convention at Algiers, 1906. The Treaty of Tripoli and all of these different treaties and things, you'll see this term, chargé d'affaires. You'll see that term often there. It's an international term. Again, entrusted with business. When we are doing our business in terms of the commerce that we do, we're demonstrating trust. Okay? So with that being stated, what we're doing is planting seeds for what's coming. Planting seeds for what's coming. We're planting seeds for what's coming, so that everyone is clear, has clarity about why we say things like we accept the charge for that is that property. So we say we accept the property charge because that's what it is. It's not a debt charge, it's a property charge. But again, we're going to demonstrate how to do that in the coming weeks. Right now, we're doing the study of it because this is, again, where domiciles, conveyances, and all of that stuff, we must know what we're doing when we say things like that so that the fraud doesn't creep in. So that the fraud doesn't creep in. Islam Empress.
On the subject of planting seeds for what's to come, for whoever can benefit from this, and I'm not sure if Sister Aisha is here or not, but last week I did a demonstration. Well, I've been doing demonstrations for the past year and a half or so, at least since the very end of 2022, up until I'm still in the middle of doing some demonstrations, but what the nefarious actors
thank you
had in play. So they were supposed to have been doing a foreclosure, and I had been in communication mostly with the person who was doing business as the clerk of the court, and also acquired another title as a comptroller. So I had been in communication, sent out basically, cease and desist, whatever. Did the same thing, fee schedule, did the same thing with the actor called Sheriff. So the company who claimed that I have a mortgage with them, which I didn't. They acquired my name some way, somehow, third, fourth party interloper, whichever line that they fall under. So doing my demonstrations, I really had not communicated with the company, right, or with their representative, the lawyer, but I've been communicating with the two people that has these so-called position as sheriff and clerk of the court. So anyways, things had died down for a bit, but then it reignited again. And so last month, they set another court date for foreclosure. And so basically, I didn't put much energy into responding because I figured the one response that I sent out, that should suffice. But because when you say notice to agent is notice to principal, notice to principal, notice to agent, that should suffice. So anyway, they did their thing, and my house supposedly went through foreclosure. And then that was last Wednesday, and when I got home Wednesday evening, there was a note on my door with some, obscure, holding company, blah blah blah, holding company. We've got word. However, I'm paraphrasing, of course. We've got word that this premises is vacant. So I said okay. So I, because of the obscurity of the nature of it, there's no name. There was just an address that's in Tampa, and then there was a phone number, reach out to us within 72 hours. So I did, let my fingers do the walking, and I found who owned that company, whatever, and got an email. So I just emailed Mr. Mann and said, hello there. There is a UCC 1 lien on this property, and for the structure of the property, there is over $2 million, And for the contents of the structure, there's another $1 million for the contents. So, talk to me if you want to, more or less. And from I sent that out, I have not heard a whistle. I have not heard a peep. I had gotten information how much the individual paid, gotten information saying that some company in South Carolina reached out to say, oh, we can help you get unclaimed funds. I guess some way, somehow there's unclaimed funds after the foreclosure, and how they would help me get that. So just hopefully if she's here or if she listens to this, this can give her a ray of hope. It's important to put a lien that's unfavorable to their market structure, and claim the ennglishe.
She's still going to be evicted on the 1st of February.
I'm still in my house. Thank you very much. So that's basically it.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that, Empress. If we may just share some information about that. You mentioned that they acquired your name from somewhere, that they were not the original ones, but they acquired your name from somewhere. They acquire names by people who communicate with them, in especially verbally, but they'll acquire the right name and leave people alone when it's done by Moorish government affidavit and then company affidavit. They keep changing companies, quote unquote, in their enactment, because it's just acting, hoping that you will call and contact them. That's why they say that, because they can't get your name otherwise. They can't use your name otherwise, and you have to give it to them. But when we give anything to anyone of that nature, it's always a fiduciary document, a lien, like you stated, Empress. That's wise to lien everything moving. Lien them, and then and state the fiduciary document, which is your name is your name and not the name that they're presenting. Your address is the address that you have on the documentation and the record. And then you send company letterhead that has some red in it somewhere. We always add something red to it to nationalize the company, letterhead, and then we say we're the chiefs of this company. And we've stated that this is the address and this is the status. I'm so grateful that you're demonstrating the way that you're demonstrating, Empress. We just want to add a little more to that if we can, because we're always wanting to assist. Contacting and continuing to speak to them in ways other than court action is prohibited in our suggestion to all Moors. Always court action language, whether it be email, whether it be phone, whether it be whatever it is, no matter what is being stated, it's always court action language. Always court action language. Always court action language. So that they know that you know who you are. Because, again, the only way they can acquire a name is if we give it to them. If we don't give it to them, they can't have it. And that's another reason why we have to be careful with the phone action too, Moors. This is for everyone. is we speak by affidavit. See, whenever you send something, a court action or whatever, their first thing that they do in their enactment is pick up the phone and try and call you. Because guess what they're trying to do? They're trying to reach you. That's a long arm of the law statement. They're trying to reach you and pretend to be the law when you're the law. You reach them by affidavit and court action to prove that the long arm of the law is living and not dead. You accept the charge for your property and not for the debt. And then you have so much power and authority that you can even cancel their debt to show them that they're. What are we talking about here? You don't have debt because I canceled your debt. So, but I accept the charge for the office over my property. We're so grateful. Our ancestors know everything. And again, I can almost feel it. There's something in the chat that says, Justice Cherie says, corporate property management uses ordinances to evict persons. I'm going to correct it. It's not people, persons. However, the Moors are not subject to regulations, codes, ordinances, or statutes. We're not subject to them written by others, but we must write them. We must write the ones that they are subject to. See, it's a duel. It's a duel. They're trying to duel with you. And that's why they say whoever draws first, they're talking about the writing, wins the duel. Well, first is first in time, first in line. First as in the first people ever to exist. So we draw first every time we write an affidavit and send an affidavit and accept the charge over our property and make sure that the debt goes with the debtors. And then we'll do a 1099-C and say, here, your debt is now. And if the 1099-C is accepted, they're subjects. If and they don't have an option. They don't have an option. They're all subject. They don't have an option. I was going to say if they didn't, then they're dead corpses, but I can't even say that. That's not even true. Every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess. Yes. Yes. That is truth. So with that being stated, speaking of mortgages and things, delinquent. The reason why people who were delinquent got hounded so much is because you were delinking yourself from the debt. But see, you can't do it. I can't say you can't do it. Let me put that in the positive. In order to delink from the debt, you must go away from that state, that debtor state. You must come out of her. The debtor state is it. It's a dead corpse pretending to be a mother. That's what delinquent really is. And they always said that children were delinquents. They used to call children delinquents. Why do they say that? Because if you stop paying, but you haven't put the system in place, the right system in place, then you're still considered a minor who does not know that you are the Lord over your property. See, sometimes Moors will stop paying fiat and then get into issues and be called delinquents because they've not demonstrated their system, which is ours, our system. When I say there, I mean the Moors haven't demonstrated. We must demonstrate our system. We must. A delinquent that's a child term. Notice they don't assign that to those who know. Listen, those who know who they are could never be. That's right, juvenile delinquent. That is someone, no matter how old you are, that's someone who is not using the right terminology and the right species for what you're doing. It's a minor. A minor. And we are not minors. We're not minors. With regard to, yes, Empress, a minor out of order. Yes, because the minors can't go around trying to govern things. They're not old enough to be chargé d'affaires. Chargé d'affaires. They're not old enough to be that. They're not demonstrating that. So I wanted to briefly show, just a moment, regarding safe harbor. I'm going to hold the screen sharing for just a moment. And because I want to pull up one of our liens that we have done so that we can see where safe harbor, which is mentioned in the Great Taking, and the reason we're talking about the liens, because we've mentioned liens several times in this Congress, the liens, just like Empress Avina stated earlier about you must lien them. She is correct, and absolutely correct. Matriarch Abina said a lien that a lien must be done. Yes, that is correct. For all Moors. On our liens, and let me fix these margins here. So this is an example of one of our liens. Here at the top of the lien, let me put it on the screen so that you can see it. This is one of our liens that we did. At the top of this lien, it talks about, and we've been stating this for years, National Safe Harbor Program, Universal Commercial Code, subsection 9-521, whereby nationals who file written Universal Commercial Code liens can file Universal Commercial Code liens in any state. That is the National Safe Harbor Program that we placed at the top of our liens years ago. Years ago. And so now, just one moment. And so when we look in the book called The Great Taking that we suggested that it's a PDF. It's not anything that you have to spend any fiat for. It's on the internet freely. It's called The Great Taking. The name of the subject who wrote it is James Webb. And what was stated about safe harbor in The Great Taking is the following. It says the purpose of the safe harbors from their inception has been to promote stability. And we could just stop there. We could stop right there with that one. That is what liens do. See, when we first started doing liens, there were Moors who were saying, you all are warring, you're at war. Why would you lien them? Why would you lien them? Because they're dead and they're not real. We were promoting stability in large and inherently unstable financial markets, which are not ours. Those are not ours. And this is how stability is the foundation. So we're doing things from the foundation. Promoting stability from the very beginning. In the funny mirror, there's inherently unstable financial markets, quote unquote, by protecting transactions in those markets from being disturbed during a bankruptcy. As explained in the legislative history of the original safe harbor. There's an original safe harbor, and then there's a safe harbor running around out there. In the original one, it was explained that the financial stability of the clearinghouses would be severely threatened by exposure to avoidance claims. As well, actions to avoid margin payments made by clearinghouses could set off a chain reaction of insolvencies among all other market participants, threatening the entire industry. Well, did we will for Morris to continue enacting being thrown in jail against the will of the living being? No, we didn't. No, that was not our will to have that continue. So safe harbor, and I'm not sure which page this is on, but I think there's a title, a chapter entitled Safe Harbor in that book, The Great Taking. So the ancestors had us put that at the top of the liens years ago before we ever saw this book or knew of this book, just from study and listening to the Spirit as we study, which happens to all of us, by the way. When we study, the Spirit is speaking to us even through our study and saying, do this and do this and do this. Put this here, put this there, spell this way. Even in the smallest things, the Spirit is always speaking. That's that charge. It's the energy. It's the electricity. It's the currency. That study, our will to study, is actually what causes that currency to manifest. And that is why we put the safe harbor law at the top of all of our liens. And now, as we were reading that book, we saw this and thought we would point that out as well. In our last Congress, we stated that we were going to discuss the Miranda warning. As we move to our next topic really quickly. We will to make it known that the Miranda warning was an enactment of a court action being done on the person. You can't do a court action on the people, but you can do a court action on the person. That's why it was called a warning. The warning is, if you're not going to be the court, they will. If you're not going to speak a court action at the very beginning, they will. See, before, this is how Miranda worked in the enactment. Before someone said anything, they had to do that court action in their enactment. And that way, number one, the person would be under their jurisdiction, quote unquote, in the enactment. Islam nobility.
I was not going to say anything about what I'm about to say, but because you just brought this up, and you made it so very clear, Spirit is telling me, yes, go ahead and speak up. So I must. Okay?
Islam.
You just indicated something very particular and specific when you said they were always talking to the person.
Yes.
Because you are deemed to be and recognized by your actions to be in the office of the person that they created and gave you without telling you that's what they were doing. You were also in the office of resident agent, which is why they were to give you at your mailing address service of process.
And it's actually their mailing address, not even yours.
Okay, but you, we, I, I'll speak for me.
Yes.
I received my first appointment for service of process, like most teenagers did, when I went to go get my driver's permit and eventually the driver's license, because they asked you what name, and you gave them your name, whether you put it in lowercase or not, and they put it in all caps. You didn't object to it, so they were telling you this is your state agency, your person, your vessel. Then they asked you what is the mailing address, and then you gave them the mailing address, and that is when you accepted service of process as the registered agent for that entity. Thus, they begin sending you all the bills in that name, because the state agency that they created and gave you now has a new address for someone who has accepted the position registered agency and the charges to that vessel. Now, I ask our listening audience to hear this question. If you are working at McDonald's, General Motors, any other major company, and you're standing at the front desk and they came and brought the bill in from the utility, would you reach into your pocket and say, oh, let me hurry up and go pay that? You'd be like, heck no, that ain't my bill. You would know it. But yet, because it got mailed to your home, you believed it was your mail and your bill, and you opened it and tried to pay it. And your sole job and responsibility always was to simply take whatever bills you got, whatever presentments you received as service of process agent, and send it to the headquarters. Just like you would do if you worked for a major corporation in middle management. When you received a bill or something, you didn't try to pay it for your business expense. What did you do? You sent it to the accounting office with a proper requisite sheet or something like that. Or you put it on your card and you had to account for everything and they paid for it.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes.
But either way, you didn't reach in your pocket to pay the business expense of the business. That's the point.
Yes. Yes.
So then the question becomes, all of our issues, I'm narrowing it down in the old era, in the past, really simple, centered around something so simple as you needed to resign from being a registered agent and give it back to them so that they could handle what? Service of process, any court matter, any bill statement that came in the all caps name. And you never would have had to pay them bills. You never would have been evicted. You never would have went through a foreclosure. Even if they cheated you, guess who would have fixed it? Your quasi-trustees, the Secretary of Treasury, the Secretary of State, the Attorney General. They would literally send somebody to the courthouse, if need be, to settle that court matter that they charged your vessel with.
If they were competent to do so, but they were not.
No, they're competent. At that level, they're competent. They're competent. They know. They know. And I have testimony of those who have been using that process for a number of years, and they were doing it. I don't care if you are nodding your head the wrong way, that way, back and forth to say no.
That whole system
I know people who have been doing that. Okay?
But it didn't. But I'm talking about you. Because, see, we can only talk about ourselves in terms of, was that a competent system? No.
The system, no. The system had failings. I'll grant that. Okay?
You know?
But that was what we were supposed to do in the first dang place, instead of trying to pay them all ourselves. That's my point.
I agree.
That's my point.
I agree with that.
So now we have the capability to do that on our own, because I've done away with their entity, killed it off, and I don't do nothing with it no more, because I got my own birth certificate, my own bonding, and I'm the creditor, and now I'm learning to use the credit properly. So, now we done come full circle, and we truly will not be needing them at all.
We never do.
At all.
Yeah. So. It's a mirror. It's a funny mirror. It's a funny mirror. It's just a mirror. And it's backwards and inside out and all of that too. Opposite. Everything is the opposite. Accepting charges. We should have been accepting charges, except the charge for possession of or custody of the property, not charges on paper, debt charges. No. We have a special purpose vehicle to deal with the numbers.
Yeah, and the only charge we should have been accepting is the charge that we were levying for our services.
Yes. Yes. All day, every day. Noble Phoenix, you know I have to pick on you when you say things. I have to take out my little scalpel and purse and pierce and piece.
That's one of the reasons.
We each other, though.
Because I already expected that. I said, she's going to find something in here. And
iron sharpens iron.
That's all good.
Iron, yeah. And that's one thing. That's why I said Solomon. That's why I said Solomon.
But you know what? You mentioned earlier the ancestors, as we're studying, they're revealing things to us left and right. And I'm seeing so many connections. And I'm seeing how this relates to that. And I really wished in many ways that I could share my enthusiasm with our listening audience, with all of them at once, as I'm finding these things.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I only have a handful of people that I'm working with, because more don't make themselves available, okay? Or they're calling with the wrong energy, or a different type of energy that says, help me figure this out. No, I'm not here for that. That's for you. You have all the information I got. Now, if you want me to break something down, that's different. But I'm not going to help you do the paperwork or give you mine so you can just cut and paste it. No, you already got that in the video. You got everything we need with 500 videos. And like you didn't tell me, okay, you got to go look at this one, you got to look at that one in order to get your answer. No, I had to go and search. You said they're there. And I have to give people the same message, because if you don't work for it, you're not going to appreciate and value it the way you should, because you don't learn it for yourself. You don't earn it unless you learn it. You don't earn it unless you learn it. And that's the principle that I stick by. So I don't cut people a slack on that. Now, if they got a learning disability, different story. Older couple, I work with them, okay? But that's where I draw the line. You know, Islam.
Thank you, Brother Noble Phoenix. Appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Islam. Justice Earl, Islam.
Yes.
You have something?
No, I just want to express gratitude for the sharing of that.
Yes.
A piece of revealing information and explanatory,
as
he so eloquently has been able to do and did tonight.
Yes,
Okay.
Indeed. It is much appreciated, the study, the knowledge, and the demonstration. It's for all Moors, specifically those who will speak up. We appreciate that, because, you know, although we do the majority of the coordinating and the sharing on this platform really was meant for it to be congressional. It was not meant for me to be, you know, saying everything and no one else say anything. It was never that. It was supposed to be all of us speaking and sharing and remedying the issues that we had or that we thought we had, you know. But our ancestors know what they're doing. They know what they're doing with all of us, each and every one of us. Service of process. Yes. Yes, that's listen, there was always something in there that should not that we can easily take out of every process. Everything. Our ancestors know what they're doing with us. Justice Atiba, did you have something? Islam.
Yes, Islam.
Islam, no
first, I just wanted to acknowledge and yourself. There are a multitude
multitude of questions that is constantly being thought of, yourself and people with the same characters, Brother Phoenix, brings the answers forward so we can learn how to ask the question and then how to respond to the question once they are asked. Lots of people don't know they can't even remotely think of how to pose a question, and every question that can be asked, y'all are answering them before we can even ask. If that makes sense. And as I listen, I am totally encouraged by the foundation that's being laid down before us in an awesome, awesome manner. There's no words. It's done.
Thank you, Justice Atiba. It's so good to hear that, because sometimes we were thinking, are we all over the place? Because the ancestors were giving us so much at once. We get so much, and they still do. We get so much information that we will to strategically put it out there in an orderly manner. So I appreciate hearing that, and I'm sure Noble Phoenix, I'm sure you appreciate hearing that as well.
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you for your gratitude and expressing it.
Islam. I can just take a deep breath and I can exhale, because we got it. We got it. And you know what? Our teachers can do that too. They can take a deep breath and just exhale, because we got it from them.
Islam. Brother Howard and I were having this discussion a few days back, and we were noticing what the brother just noticed as well. There's a lot of people that don't ask questions. They don't speak up. Mm-hmm. And I know there's more than 5 or 6 of us who study and have competent questions. Yes. So I want to take this moment for everyone hearing this. There's 54 on the line right now, plus however many are going to listen to this afterwards, or maybe more. Mm-hmm. And I want to encourage every last one of you, if you have something to share that you discovered that made you excited, even if it's something we already discussed and we already got it down and it seems like it's an elementary thing, we need to hear from you.
Yes.
No, we will to hear from you. Let me correct my language.
Hear from you. Thank you.
Why? Because we don't need anything like she said. We don't. And that's something that I'm learning to move out of my vocabulary, out of my list of words available, so that I speak what I will, not what I'm lacking, okay? So that I can have in abundance what I want and what I will, I should say, okay? But I will for more of you to speak up, to ask those questions that you are hesitant. You're not afraid. You're hesitant, because ain't nobody going to bite you here.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to make fun of you or pick on you or nothing. You're talking to your brother, your sister, your mother, your daughter. So what is there to be afraid of? It's your family, okay, for lack of a better word, okay? We're fellow heirs. So speak up and talk to us. Let us hear from you, please. More of you. Islam.
This is an exercise in getting in the utilizing of our voice, our throat chakra. This is that exercise where because see, the whole earth has not heard from the Moors in a while. They will to hear from us. And it's platforms like this that anyone can speak and make statements, ask questions. This is the place to ask questions. I will state that. Because, and even, we will do the research together and find whatever it is that is necessary in order to answer the question. Our ancestors have given us a lot of information among us. We have the answers to everything among us. So this would be the perfect place to ask questions and to make statements and to, state whatever you will to state. I know I absolutely love hearing as many speak as possible because we've been away from each other. We thought we were black. We thought all types of craziness. We were insane in the enactment previously. Now we are sane. We are sound. We can, and to hear each other, there's a frequency that happens when we hear from each other. There's a frequency that happens when even one of us speaks, not to mention 15. I would actually, I'm looking forward to the time when at least 15 or 20 of us speak. Now, we have had that with the voting process where many have voted, but we're talking, we know everybody's studying. We know that. We would love, and so I affirm what Noble Phoenix has stated for this platform. And we don't mind, because see, we could talk for 8 hours straight. We could talk for days. We could literally talk for days. So we don't mind being interrupted, and we don't mind sharing the platform. Islam Nobility.
Thank you, Noble Phoenix, for speaking like he did. I've been working with Noble Phoenix for a minute now, and it's been enlightening. It's been great. I appreciate his guidance and his leadership, and yours too, Empress. This has been an inspiration to me because my spirits have been down for a long time, and this has really brought a light back to me that when I lost my son, that I didn't think I was going to get back, and it has helped me in such a great way. And my wife, my family, they've been trying to keep me from falling apart and falling to pieces, but it gave me a new hope, and it gave me a new light that I felt had went out of me. And I've been having such the weirdest dreams. The spirits have been trying to talk to me so much, and I've been trying to put it together in my head, and it's been so difficult lately. When I listen to you and I listen to the people speak, the Howard and them, Justice Howard and Angel, you guys, your energy levels are great, and that has helped me so much. And you guys just don't know what I've been through, but we all have been through things, and I appreciate you guys. But what we talk about is sacred, and I don't think people understand that, what we go through with what we feel and everything. But when we come together, this is a sacred moment, and these moments we have to put our all into everything we do, and 100%. And when I came, the first time I spoke, we spoke about releasing the people from prison. And that was one of the best meetings I had been on. And these just keep getting better as we keep going and we keep growing. So if it's a demonstration, if it's just showing love and peace to one another, we've got to keep doing it. But we all got to keep demonstrating. We've been demonstrating, me and my wife. We've demonstrated in the banks. We've demonstrated in the courthouse with my son, and we're seeing movement, we're seeing change. There were some hiccups in our demonstration, but we figured them out with some help and some guidance, and we put it together, and looks like everything's going to be okay. I don't question anything that we do, but I know everything that we've been doing is right. And nobody can change that. No one can take that from us. And I love everybody for showing up every Thursday, every Sunday. That's dedication. And we just got to keep bringing our people with us. If we got to hold their hand, we got to hold it for a minute, but don't push them down. We got enough pain in our lives. We are the light. Don't forget that. And make sure you're shining it everywhere you go. And just be a blessing, y'all.
Thank you.
It's fine, brother.
Thank you for that. In case you didn't know, I'm a crybaby. Not crybaby, cry sovereign. Thank you for that. Every Thursday and every Sunday is so important for our entire nation, just for us to come together. Whatever the topic is, whatever we're talking about, whatever laws we're making, just knowing who we are. And then demonstrating our nobility to each other. That's important. We must demonstrate our nobility to each other at all times. And even if we mess that up a little bit, we can still get back on our square and, keep going. So thank you for that nobility. We really appreciate your statement. We felt it in the energy.
Islam nobility. I would encourage everybody on this call. We have in attendance 52. And one of the great benefits and strengths come not only with us being able to assemble here because there's unity in numbers, there's strength in numbers, but that outside of this platform, we should be bonding with each other. We all have some very different and or common particular journeys, or I should say concerns, or I should say challenges, okay? And that in being able to prepare to put our hands to the plow, okay, which is what we all should be doing. It's not a place just to gain knowledge and not really do anything with it. We're going to have to put this thing to practice. And one of the best ways and places to get started is in your own personal challenges. Because those are the things that are more personal to you. And that's where a lot of your emotion is attached to as well. And then 3, that's where you can gain some of your greatest growth, just because it has everything and so much to do with you. Okay? Yeah. So let us find opportunity to reach out to one another, and that has been done. We've seen it happen very well on our platform. But look at this. We've got 54 people in attendance, and as been noted, you only have a handful that tends to be the ones to verbalize with involvement here. And that's, those who are silent, you're dealing with some things. We know you're dealing with some things. And that's part of the reason why you're silent. But you're going to have to come out of that. You've got to come out of that because this journey is about progress. It's about growth. It's about a group kind of movement in unison. And I know this has been pushed. This has been expressed by our Empress. So let it be just a word of encouragement. Let this ripple all the way throughout this whole platform for each of us. Let us start connecting with each other in a more real way. Some of you, of course, that's not talking about those who have been doing that. But there are those who have been too quiet. And when you do reach out, watch and see what kind of progress and growth begin to happen. Yeah. I yield.
Oh,
sorry.
Thank you for that nobility. Go ahead.
I have to jump in. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that I do acknowledge everything that everyone's saying, and I acknowledge you, Light, and I definitely acknowledge Noble Phoenix. He's great. He was born to be a teacher, and I really, really, really appreciate him in my life. But I do want to say that I did get frustrated a lot of times because we always are all in a hurry because we've been down so long.
Yeah.
And that's where the rush and the angst come. And then usually we find this type of thing when we're at our capacity, losing stuff. And so it makes us rush. And I had to take a step back, and I went to your page and I saw all of those videos. I said, she has been putting in work for so long. This is why she's frustrated, because she wants us to go look at what she's done. And that gives you the appreciation because you're making these videos, but we got to watch them because I done found all kinds of information. And now it leads me back to whenever I asked you a question before and I saw you was like, the answers are there. And I'm like, what is she talking about? I don't see the answer. And then I started going through your information. I said, she's right. Everything is right here. You just got to sit back and take your time. I know we're in a hurry, but doing it in a hurry has never worked for me. I've been always taught to have patience, and now I see where that's leading me. This was my lesson. I was supposed to learn patience before I reached here, and I yield.
Thank you for that, Empress. Wow. Thank you to each one who has made their statement. This is amazing. Wow.
Islam. Because what is on the screen that I know that most are looking at, Miranda warnings, if I may. I know you want to talk about this, but how it's, speaking to me right now is it states number 1, you have the right to remain silent. And we enacted that. But as I sat and I listened to everyone speak, we have the right to speak. Yeah. And we have the right to state our claim. We have the right to state our case. We have the right to state our remedy. We have the right to state, our jurisdiction. We have the right to state our sovereign consanguinity. We have the right to, use our charge and charge our atmosphere, charge our mind, charge our heirs, charge our people, charge our peace, charge our credits, charge for the right thing, right? And number 2, anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. Well, that in the funny mirror was what they were trying to enact, but anything we say can and will be used to our will, our desire, our purpose, our intentions, our redemption, our remedy, right? And then number 3, you have the right to an attorney. Well, that was in the enactment. And we have the right to our brethren. We have the right to our sisters. We have the right to access and ask questions like it was so eloquently stated just as, the multitude was speaking. We have the right to that. We have the right to take and stand for our law, our truth, and do the reversion of estate, right? And because that's what the attorney was trying to enact, as taking the estate, taking the charge, as we enacted being, sleep before, but now we're awake and we don't have that anymore. We no longer delegate no more authorities to nothing else other than ourselves. We stand in state for our state, and we state our perfect peace. We charge our peace, and we are the peace. And so that is that, Islam.
Justice Harold just put. Thank you for that, Empress Angel. That's where I was going with anyway. You could have taught this. You could have shared this information because that's where I was going with all of this anyway. That's the Miranda warning is a funny mirror situation where if we turn it the way that it should be, we would never be silent. We would always be speaking the law. Justice Harold put something in the chat that's just so wow. Miranda in Latin is mirror. Mirror, M-I-R-O-R. They spell it with one R, but we know about the word play. We know about the word magic.
Which means to look.
Yes.
Yes, mira. Yes.
Islam, I also see us being able to exercise and demonstrate liberty and freedom.
Yes. We're the court. So yes.
Oh, and
The
yes,
Miranda
one more thing. I'm sorry.
Islam.
Oh, so the warning is that we state, because we're not warring with nobody. We're warning and admonishing that this is what it is. This is the suggestive and an admonishment that we are here, and we suggest you take heed those who were, trying to state otherwise in the enactment.
So for us, thank you for that, Empress. For us, it's not a warning. They were trying to warn us, really.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We're telling them now. We're admonishing those who were enacting, and those who were. This is our statement that take heed. This is what it is. Take hear ye this day. This is what it is. The affirmation is affirmed.
Yeah.
That part.
Yes, indeed. Miranda, this is, it would actually just be Miranda. Mirror, the mirror is actually a Babylonian term. See, we could look in a mirror and see our image. That would be our image and our likeness. But then there was a third-party interloper pretending to be the mirror, pretending to be actually us in the enactment. You have the right to speak, to state. Anything you state can and will be used in your favor because you are the court. You are the law. You have the right to be your own consul. You can always afford a consul because you are your consul. You don't need anyone else to provide for you. You provide for yourself. And then, number 5, they ask, do you understand? Because, see, that's one of my favorite terms since we've been doing court actions, because I did it repeatedly in the POW demonstrations. Do you understand? And now, I know that probably looked a certain way in the last era from that perspective, but from our perspective, it's absolutely what we should be doing. Do you understand that you are hereby bound by the Constitution for the United States, hereby bound by the Treaty for Peace and Friendship, even though they're not bound by treaty because they're not a nation? And one of them even said, we're bound by the Constitution, but not by the treaty. And it's like, okay, that means you get it. Islam.
Something just clicked to me and say, how do you make a mirror? Right? So I Googled it. And it says, modern mirrors are largely produced by wet disposition of silver or aluminum. The process begins with cleaning and polishing the glass substrate to removing impurities and contaminants. The glass then requires a series of coatings beginning with thin chloride because silver will not bond directly with glass. Right? So when I was listening to what was being just presented earlier with the enactment in the mirror, and then you, Empress Light, stated, well, then there's a third interloper in the funny mirror. And I'm like, well, shoot, how do you even make a mirror? Right? And then it says thin layers of chloride is because the silver will not bond directly with glass. So you need glass, you need chloride, and you need silver. 3 parts. And then, so what part is those parts being enacted? But we know we're all the parts in the living. But so we were always the glass because we were always transparent. And then they were trying to enact being silver because they created this greenback, which was not the money at all, because they were trying to replace the money with something of whatever. And then the chloride and such, thin chloride, And so, that's another element from the periodic table.
If I may, an actual real mirror is the glass is made from sand.
Mm-hmm.
So they're missing something natural there.
Islam.
And
the first mirror is the water.
Of course.
That part, yes.
And so in their trying to create a mirror, whatever they needed to attach natural things, that was the third party interloper. But even though you mentioned chloride, but they were having, in that era or in that funny mirror, they were actually attempting to use us as the glue to hold the glass and the silver together, because it was our word. If we spoke in that wrong jurisdiction, that created the mirror.
Well,
together.
Empress, what you're saying is in number 5. It says, "With these rights in mind, do you wish to speak to me?"
Right there.
The words to hold together what they stated before as jurisdiction over us. See, we would be agreeing to speak the same language and to be in the same jurisdiction, which is not possible. Islam, Empress.
Exactly. So and that's exactly what I was saying. And it makes me actually think about the 2 times that they kidnapped me. And I remember the first time in particular, I was saying, now I started, because I did a court action straight off the bat, and I was just repeating court action.
Yes.
And they never read the Miranda. And then when you stated, as we came into this phase of the congressional, I heard it. Well, they couldn't. I had already stated, I had already claimed the court, because I am the court. And even though they continued in their belligerency, they knew that I was the court, and I knew I was the court.
Yes.
But they carried on. So this.
Well, it was a test for you. They don't carry on randomly. That's not random, and it's not. It was a test. Just like I did court actions for 10 days. The ancestors just wanted to know if I was going to stand, and they knew I was going to stand because they know us. They know all of us. They knew you were going to stand also, Empress.
And
it was a test for us.
It was a test, and the second was another test, and each one is, they're just, are you who you state you are? Can you handle it?
Do you know what they know?
Do you
about you?
And that, because ultimately, isn't all of this, in the grand scheme of things, to know thyself?
Yes. This is not even about them. It's not even about them.
Right.
None of this is about them. And that's why it's important for us, the gods, to see that and know that.
And know it.
And I'll say this, every time I hear someone try to blame them for something, I'm like, they don't get it yet, but they will.
But they will, because if you break down blame, it is be lame. And we stand firmly and strong
there
on
she
our
is again.
legs.
There you are again. Thinking. If we can just get you to think, you'll free yourself.
Islam. I yield.
Islam, Justice Kansu.
Yeah, greetings to all those there, and to you too, Amplified. When I first started,
can you speak up just a little bit?
I said when I first started. Can you hear me now?
Yes, somewhat. Let me make sure my headset is in properly. Go ahead, Nobility.
I was just replying to what Noble Phoenix said about that we should speak a bit more. With me, I find since the accident, not the accident, going into hospital, I find I was so much on doing my demonstrations and putting out what I needed to put out. But I find that since I came out from hospital, I don't seem to have that kind of, I don't want to say light. I don't seem to have that eagerness to want to do the work. But this is why I'm always on the call every week, because I want to just catch up or be there like you guys are there. But I haven't done any work since then. So I'm always wondering, I even asked the ancestors to help me to get back on that same track I was on. And I'm just still here waiting.
So, Justice Kansu, may I state what I'm hearing in the spirit realm about that?
Yeah.
What I'm hearing in the spirit realm is the ancestors' will for you to rest, and rest. Rest, and then do what you can when you can. But your prior to you going into hospital, you were on a very fast track. You felt you were putting pressure on yourself, and the ancestors will for you to be not under any pressure to do what you, because see, the work is going to be here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to do this work. The ancestors are not going to allow you to go back to sleep, so you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
Okay? They're not going to let you go back to sleep. So you can rest, and then if just coming to Congress is what you do for a while, do that. And then when you are ready, because see, you'll be inspired, you'll inspire yourself, and you'll be inspired to do the paperwork again and to do the demonstrations again. Right now they're saying you're in a place called Goshen, Goshen, because there's a lot of stuff going on around you there at UK territory, at United Kingdom territory. There's a stronghold that's being pulled down there, that has been pulled down there. A stronghold that has been pulled down there. And because that stronghold was being pulled down, it affected the energy there. So you are safe, though. Do the research. Just Google something in the Biblios about the land of Goshen and what that meant. You are in Goshen. That means you're protected. You're going to be taken care of. Everything is going to be fine while that energy gets back to where it should be over there. Just a moment. Just a moment. That was the energy that we're talking about that's been pulled down. And it probably is not happy being identified, but we know what's going on. We see what's going on. You are in a place called Goshen. And what Goshen is, nobility, is it's a place of protection. It's a place of peace. It's a place that while you rest, while everything that was going on with that previous era leaves, finishes out over there, you are to rest and just your job is going to be nature. Go out and just walk in nature and listen. They want you to hear them. Listen. And listening is not being silent. Listening is listening. Okay? You will never go back to sleep. There is the energy there. There is a work over there that there is a work to be done over there that is 1 or 2 years in the, forthcoming because of the stronghold that was there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to be a major part of that, And you need to be rested for it. It's a good thing. It's a great thing. In fact, it's going to be so many resources coming that the system you're going to have to allow the system to govern the resources because it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot. And there are other Moors that will be there to assist you. They're already there. We've heard from many of them.
Mm-hmm.
So the ancestors will for you to not worry. Not worry. Do not worry. Do not worry. Do the research on GOSHEN. That is the name of the place that you are at right now. There's no hurry. There's no rush. We are forever. Just a moment. Okay? We know that you're there, nobility, so we're actually going to stay on you too. We know what's coming, so we will for you to be well rested for that.
Can you spell that name again for me, please? Goshen?
GOS, and I'll just put it on the screen here so you can see it. The word is GOSHEN. Goshen. That is where you are right now. Goshen is the land that the children of Israel went to while everything around them was falling. And in that land, they were well fed, well taken care of. Everything was peaceful while the turmoil and the falling away of the old era happened. You are at Goshen, and many more are at Goshen.
Well, I did got myself Septuagint Bible.
Yes.
I will read it. I will read that in that.
You can read it in that one. Yes, you can read it in the Hebrew Bible. Any of the Bibles that talk about Goshen.
Which chapter would that be in?
Well, it depends on which version of the Biblios you're looking at.
Well, I've got the Septuagint.
Yes, the Septuagint. Yeah.
Septuagint.
Yeah.
Where would it be in this Septuagint?
Probably, let's see, it would be, I'm not sure. I would have to do a little research on that. So here's what I would suggest. Google Goshen in the Septuagint or Septuaginta, whichever one you have there, and Google it, and it will come up, and it will give you an idea of where to look because those are online also.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, Islam. The key takeaway is do not worry.
Okay.
We think the highest of you. And I know that's not a big, you know that already. We just want to say it. We think the highest of you. The highest of you.
Thank you.
And so do not worry. That's the word.
Okay. Well,
yes.
Well, I've not been worried, but it's been a little bit more anxious to get on with doing the work, but this hasn't happened as yet,
So, yeah, anxiety is looking at the future the wrong way, through the wrong filter, not the wrong way, but through the wrong filter. So your filter has to be adjusted so that you see that the future is fine. And when I said that what's coming, you can feel what's coming. That's why you have anxiety. I can feel what's coming because we're all one. We're feeling the same thing. we've transmitted that energy differently.
Mm-hmm.
You've transmitted it to the point where it becomes anxiety. I've transmitted it to where I'm very excited, but I know it's going to be, we must be well rested and ready. And we will be, because the ancestors will not allow anything to happen that we're not ready for. But when we're ready, it's going to happen, and it's already happening.
Well, I accept what you say, what the ancestors say, that it's going to happen. And like I said, I've been away, and now it's been 4 months since I've been out of the hospital. So I think that might be the issue, Nobility. You think you've been away. You haven't been away. Okay.
You haven't been away. Yeah, you haven't been away. You haven't missed anything. While you were there, you had things to do there that you did.
Mm-hmm.
That was for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're here with us now. You were here with us the whole time from our perspective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You did not leave us, and we did not leave you, and we're still one. You were not away, you were just being tested. Same way we were being tested when we went to the POW. It was a test, but we're not away from each other when we're testing. It might feel like that, but we're not. Islam. Rest up. You've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, indeed. And then as one final suggestion from us, take maybe 30 minutes a day and do a little something. Don't do a lot, but limit yourself to that 30 minutes, and you will see as you do that, even if it's meditating for just 30 minutes a day, start there. Start there. Islam. We're looking forward to it too, because we're coming there.
I hear that.
Yeah. We're coming there. So with that being stated, any other Moors that are feeling anxiety, do the research on Goshen so that you will know where you are. Do the research on Goshen. Goshen and the Promised Land are one as well. Those Moors who and I'm not going to cast that spell. I'll say it a different way. In the previous era, whenever someone was feeling depression, that meant that they had issues with the past. Whenever they were feeling anxiety, that means they had issues with the future. So depression is looking at the past through the wrong mirror, or the lens, eye. That's looking at the past the wrong way. And anxiety is looking at the future through the wrong lens. Your lens and your filter must be adjusted properly so that you see those two places properly for the greatness. Because, see, the past and the future look the same in terms of our great ancient past, where we ruled everything and everything. Our future looks just like that. Our past and our future. That's why people are saying circle. The word circle has been used in this Congress several times this evening. That circle is here. It's a beautiful, perfect circle. It's a perfect circle. With that being stated, this is something that I saw on social media, on YouTube the other day, and I thought, well, okay, I guess everyone is starting to see the same things. And I put the word acting in here. It says all the acting lawyers are defenseless. And they put one of our sons up there. Everyone can see the same things that we've been stating. So we need not worry about anything. Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom? Islam nobility.
What was that about? The article, what was that?
It wasn't even an article. It was just this photo, and we could take from it what we would. You know, whatever we were inspired to take from it. Someone just posted this on YouTube. It was posted, and I'll just put it in the chat. I'm not going to speak it out who posted it. Here.
My question then, did we or did we not collectively already lien the entire American Bar Association off of our land? Or no?
Yes, we did. But we must also know at the same time that that space has to be filled, and we are filling it. We filled it already, actually.
All right.
We are actually the American Bar Association, the real one, not the fake one. We bar anyone and anything from the estate. And I'll put that in biblical terms. We have the authority to bind and to loose on the estate. That's what that was all about. The American Bar. We are the original indigenous ancient American Bar Association.
I realize, you know, just the I'm going to say the gravity of our responsibility to govern our land. And I use that term gravity only to indicate the weight of it in terms of it's serious, is what I'm trying to say. Okay? So don't hang me on those words, weight and gravity, you know, because, yeah, these things are light for us, spiritually speaking, and for our ancestors. But when we're looking at things as I don't want to use that term. Let me just get to the point. The point is, all of the still evictions that are taking place, okay, against some of our sleeping heirs.
Against persons.
Persons, okay. All right, we'll say it against, yeah, because it is against persons. You're absolutely right. It's always been, that's who they're talking to. So you're right. It's against their person that they don't even know they don't, like I mentioned earlier, they don't even have the responsibility to be trying to pay for that debt for somebody else. That's a novation is what that's called in legal terms, okay? So they're paying all that. They're dealing with all of this stuff. They don't recognize it. And yet, one of the things I recognized when my son was in an automobile accident just recently, when he was on his bicycle, they took his bike, and because it was on the street, he's unconscious. They had to take him to the hospital. He's since better, and he's okay, so don't worry. But he had a concussion. They took his bicycle from a towing wrecker company, like they needed. We're talking a 10-speed bike, brand new bike, 2 weeks old. Took it to his to their wrecker shop, and then to go and get it the next day was $200 or credit, Federal Reserve notes. Okay. Now I had to make a decision: am I going to fight over that, or just let it go for this moment and come back and clean that up later? Well, I chose to come back and clean it up later. Okay, that was my decision, and that's in concert with him. But my point is this: the system allows them to take a lot of property of persons, okay, and hold them, sell them off. My eldest sibling lost a truck to a same situation, a car accident. Car was just paid for.
Is he declared war?
No. Well, you know what? He is now, but he wasn't at the time. He didn't know any of this at the time.
Yeah.
It was during that era where he was asleep. And I look at that and I said, you know what? I'm going to have to do something in my county and in the state of Florida regarding all of these wreckers taking people's personal property, whether they know about it or not. Okay? Because I'm tired of the pain that they're causing when they take people. And there's a way to work around that, because I've already, look at it this way, I've already credited and set up the bond and levy and everything else for the Florida state, not the state of.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I gave them 3 times the amount, like what we talked about, for their budget. Now, I need to start giving orders and directions as to how to use that budget for specific earmarked things that are going to change. And you're not going to be able to tell me, well, we can't afford to do this. And no, yes, we can. Okay? Yes, we can, and yes, we are. So I'm going to be giving those instructions to handle some of these situations to alleviate that problem of them taking people's property. Okay? Now, I'm going to have to work out a comprehensive plan to do that. And I'm going to be, consulting with a number of my brothers and matriarchs to work that out here in the local territory. But it's just one of those things that I see a solution for, because it has to be dealt with. So many things have to be dealt with. All right? It's not the highest priority right now. I understand that. But it's something that my spirit's telling me I'm going to have to come up with a workable solution to stop that, and that pirating activity that they keep doing against people's persons and the property, supposedly of the state, when we are the state. Okay? So now I yield. Let I'll hear what you have to say. If anything, you might just want to just let that go.
No, I'm going to say something.
I knew you were. I knew you were. Go ahead. I'm listening.
So, Noble Phoenix, first let me say that your heart and my heart is in the same place when it comes to that. That was my goal when I first started too, was we're going to just make it so they stop taking everybody and stop taking stuff. The problem with that, and this is something I had to see and know and learn and recognize, and then know what to do.
I bet you I already know your answer, because I came to the same conclusion. That's part of the learning process, and that's part of the awakening process. People have to lose some things, and they got to go some things to help wake them up. I know.
Okay, but wait a minute. That's true. But let's talk about the mechanics of it and the law of it.
Okay.
If the people are rescued before they realize that it's the contracts that are making them lose things, because see, people, it's the contracts. If they don't know that the contracts are making them lose things, they'll keep contracting and contracting and contracting with the same thieves.
Exactly. And they won't learn
and they will not learn anything. And every one of us who has a heart in our bodies came here to learn. We came to this earth to learn. And so that is why the property that keeps being taken is called personal property. It's still about the person. Personal property. Still about the person. So no matter who they are, no matter who it is out there, no matter who it is, no matter even if they are what was termed in the last era retarded, even those people, the spirit will tell them what to say when they show the will to study. We cannot rescue them, Noble Phoenix. They must save themselves. Just like in church, I could not walk up to the altar for my brother and sister in the church and them be saved because I walked up there. Correct?
Absolutely. And I know this.
And even the ones who were supposedly slow in thinking or elderly or whatever, and elderly to me is a plus, it's not a minus.
Mm-hmm.
But even those, they had to go up there for themselves. People in the wheelchairs had to wheel themselves up there. People on crutches, people in hospital beds had to go up there for themselves or call the preacher to them. whether they understood or not. Same thing. Now, our job, though, because see, this is the beauty of it. When the spirit hits them, they will do what's supposed to be done. Our job is to keep the energy and the currency of the spirit flowing and keep putting the information out there and keep growing in our own demonstrations because they're coming. Listen, you could go to one town and everybody in the town will have gone to that one big church in the town. Everybody, and went up to that altar at least once. Everybody. I don't care who they were. I don't care how old. I don't care how young. People were taking their babies up there. Same thing.
Islam, Empress.
Islam. Islam, Empress.
I see what you're both talking about, and I get it. Because one of the things, will to point the way for Moors that will to cancel all corporate contracts?
We should be telling them everything we know. But again, here's the thing, and this is so important, Empress, because we know a lot. And that's one of the things that people were saying. It's 400 and some videos. I can't watch 400. Yes, you can. But you must institute that restrictor that Noble Howard talked about in the electrical current system, where there's something that will slow the current, or stop it so that there's not overload. We must self-govern there.
I have the desire to transfer all cases concerning Moors to our jurisdiction.
It's already there, but they have to say, I'm one of them.
Yeah.
And then not only can they can't even get away with just saying that. They actually have to start doing court action language, knowing there's a court. That's how the transfer happens.
Islam, can you quick scribe on the screen so we can see the breakdown of personnel, please?
So they were Noble Phoenix talked about personal property being taken.
Well, because you broke down personnel and as in personnel and the etymology possibly on that.
So per is like each one, per, each one. You know how you say apples are $5 per apple, or $1 per apple,
or lemons.
Yeah. So that's where per comes from. Son is a word that indicates inheritance, because our sons inherit from us. Son is an inheritor, okay? So each one inherits, but each one inherits all. That's what personal. And that's why at work they said personnel, because they were claiming jurisdiction over the person. And when you say personal property, all property, who created the person? That's whose property they'll get. If debtors created the person, then all the debt, not just some of it, all of it goes to that person. That's why you cannot, because we've had more, one or two who said, well, I terminated corporate contracts on everything except the Social Security number because I need that. Then you still got all that other mess to deal with. Because the benefit comes from you. The charge of possession of the property is your charge. The charge for the debt that they were attaching to your property is theirs.
Precisely. And if I may, because I kept hearing personnel as an N-U-L, right? And no means no or none. So if you break that down in personnel, that's just the opposite of what you just stated for the living. That would be personnel, son gets no of what was previous to that. So
well,
that person gets absolutely
created the person. They inherit whoever created the person.
But what I'm saying is, when you just gave the breakdown, per son, which is inheritance, and no means nothing. So the two words that was preceding no is voided by the no. So that means in the corporate fiction, the funny mirror, that's why that person who was taking on another man's person would get nothing, absolutely nothing.
They would get something. They would get some debt. They would get the debt.
Well, we know that's still nothing, right?
You're right, Empress. I yield. You're right.
You don't get anything because it's funny. It's fraud. It's fictitious. You don't get nothing. So what I'm saying is, in that enactment, that person in that personal situation, it knows everything that you knew was right, but you was taking on another man's person and taking it personal in the enactment, which means you was taking it personal, knowing out what was true by taking another man's person.
Yeah.
Yep. And that property of another man's person.
That is what capitalism was about. And yes, ma'am, ma'am, mother am. Yes, it is a sin. It's a sin. And the ancestors are tailoring our message so that we are able to point that out and invite people to come to Christ, which is themselves.
And this is what it was screaming in my spirit when you was speaking about personal, and I'm like, wait a minute, let me just quick run this over. Like, no means devoid, and none, and no, and I'm just like, and you're saying taking a person. That's what we already talked about. We done talked about taking on another man's person. We don't do that. That's why we gotta take and make our own person, and now it becomes what you stated, personal, as in all things is what we take per is the son, is the inheritance, and all we take all of it, and all of our property, and all of our desires, and all of our wills, and it becomes the living mirror instead of the funny mirror. Yeah. And see, the dead letter homonym on that is something.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
May I
yes, Empress,
in something on that? So I personal, spelled as it was, and if we break it down, this is another perspective. Per, by, the son, al, of God. If one is in their correct jurisdiction, and that personal,
there it is
right where it is supposed to be. It was.
And so, Noble Phoenix, just hear what we're saying about personal property being taken. Go ahead, Empress, I yield.
So that's all. I mean, that's as the conversation went there, I just saw per, by, the son of God, but the jurisdiction, the state must be correct. Otherwise, you're in the funny mirror, and it's null, as Empress Angel states.
Yes. So, Noble Phoenix, the Biblio says, let the people who are the Lord say so. They say, let the people of the Lord say so, because they knew they were not. But let the people who are the Lord say so. So, I was wanting to give a statewide thing saying, don't take anybody else's property, but no one would learn. The ancestors said, you can put that out there so that the new Moors coming in, as they learn, that there's grace given for them. And this is for all who have stated that statewide things have to stop. This is for all of us. Every one of us who has stated that, we should state that, we must state that, so that as the new Moors are growing in grace and in what they're doing, that things won't be so hard for them. However, they still must be tested. Just like with Christianity. In Christianity, people would come to be saved because, they had substance abuse problems, or they had domestic problems, or they had problems on the job, or, they had problems with money and things like that. They would come to be saved. Each one that came to be saved still had to find the remedy for their problem. You can pray about it. That'll make you feel better. It's the energy. And I'm not saying the prayers didn't work. What I am saying is that the energy was put there so that they could find remedy. And then they would have to go to those inferior courts for remedy. And our nationality and our nobility is the same, in that each and every one, no matter what their level of perceived intellect is, no matter their age, no matter if they're in a wheelchair or not, everyone must be saved, and they must save themselves by their confession and profession. Everyone.
Islam. So a statement that is popping in my head. As we state, every man, woman, and child must worship at their own vine and fig tree.
Yes.
And so the word divine. In order for one to demonstrate one's divinity, one must be divine, as in the vine.
Yes.
You must grow your own, or at least root it and get
Yes.
it going. And that's
Yes.
because, again, it's breaking down the words into syllables. In patois, to say divine would be, to say the vine would be divine.
Yeah.
And so it's the sound again. It's the sound. But we each, when your baby, when your son or daughter is learning to walk, that baby is going to get up and fall down, and some crawl and some don't, and we're there as buffers and watch them, but if we didn't let them fall and tumble and get back up again, they'd never bother to learn to walk. Or if we carried them around the whole time, they would never.
Responsible mother will allow her children some freedom to learn some things that way.
Exactly. And that's really if we think about, I think about that, the other era, the belief was others made decisions for you, did for you, fell for you, carried for you. Somebody rang a bell for you and you reacted.
Yes.
Reacted. That has gone.
Yeah.
It must be the bell in your own mind.
Yeah.
That then triggers you, agitates you, stimulates you, charges you.
Yes.
Do.
Yes.
I yield.
Everyone. Thank you, Empress. Everyone must. And that last era showed us that everyone can. Even people who were on their hospital beds and things of that nature, they still had to accept, quote unquote, Jesus as their Lord, quote unquote. People that were even on their last breath were trying to have some rights. Okay? So, yes, everyone. We can't do it for them. Noble Phoenix, as much as you and I would love to, we cannot do it for them. They must do it for themselves, because all souls have free will. All souls have free will. And they must be in their proper person. Islam.
May again, as you stated, with the whole state declaration, each one of us is a state. So we must state whatever it is that is the law. It starts with this state, and then we all, the greater state, but each one must state for their state.
Yes. Yes. Remember, they always said in the last era, you teach people how to treat you.
Yeah.
You do that by your statements and your demonstrations. Yeah. You are the nobility. You are divine. You are the gods. You're sovereign. You're ancient. You've been on the land since time immemorial. How should you be treated? You must state that. And then demonstrate that you are who you say you are. We have to get to the place where we never capitulate, ever. We must get to that place. And I will state this. The ancestors have tested us there, and we didn't care how long it took. We didn't care who complained, because we got some complaining from people saying, don't be putting none of that more stuff in there. We just trying to get this done. You're going to get the business, period. We're going to give it to you. That's what's going to happen. Period. That's how all of this works. Period. We don't care about the time frame, because if anybody's in a hurry, we can slow time down for them by sending some affidavits, and they'll get out of that hurry. I've seen it many, many times where people were saying, I've got 3 days to do this and this and this. I said, send them an affidavit, and I guarantee you that time will change. And every time, without doubt, it does. They get quiet on that other end. So, we must get to the place where we never capitulate. Never. I don't care what time it is. I don't care what's going on. I don't care what's happening. Never capitulate. Never, ever capitulate. Ever capitulate. With that being stated, it's called personal property. Thank you to everyone who spoke. It is, and here's the thing, even though we, sometimes we stop and correct, that doesn't mean you did anything wrong. In fact, you did everything right. We are to correct each other. I've been corrected many times, and I'm open to correction. Absolutely open to correction. I can take it just as much as I can give it. With that being stated, I have nothing further until Sunday at 6 p.m. If there's nothing further from this amazing Council of Gods, look that up too if you want to know that the people who have been writing the Biblios and misinterpreting it have known that there is a Council of Gods such as this one. Look that up. It's in the Biblios in several different places. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original and indigenous, natural divine gods. Islam.
Oh, but one quick thing. I don't know. Grand, he spoke about the enactment in the private session with Dr. G. But the acting Pope, and we spoke about the Pope slash Congress. Why is this the echo? But so the actor, he stated, I haven't seen the whole video, Brother Justice Nate told me about it in brief, but the actor Pope, he stated that the Bible, as it has been quoted, has been a fallacy in so many words. He finally, came and made that statement, and for the people to hear, and that's how he stated that those who were, going to the church on a Sunday was not keeping the Sabbath and all that stuff. And so that's what he was stating about, because that time is up for him. So he has to tell the truth.
Islam. Peace and grand rising. Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
On Sunday at 6.
Peace and grand rising.
Enjoy the full moon. Enjoy the fasting period. Be blessed.
Peace and love, Moors. Gratitude, appreciation,
Grand rising.
Islam. Empress, we can meet. Let me close out the meeting. Islam, peace and grand rising.